YouTube and world, happy Friday from New Brunswick, Canada, Unboring Wedding headquarters. So good to be live with you. I just love doing this kind of thing. It is Friday Live question of the week, and something that I'm really passionate about, something that I love doing in addition to going live, is going to wedding shows. And one of the questions I hear from all you pros out there who maybe are maybe have a successful business and have never done it, but or who are trying to kickstart their business and are thinking, should I do it? It's scary. I want to talk to you as someone who loves going to wedding shows and attends them as a matter of habit now, how to do a wedding show, how to expo in a wedding show, how to showcase what you do it successfully, exactly what you need, the do's, the don'ts, all that good stuff. So please say hello if you are joining. I'd love to know where you are watching from and who you are. I see Jane is here, a longtime member of the community, which is awesome. So Jane, I know you are a seasoned pro. You probably do wedding shows, right? You could probably be sitting in this chair right now. So good to see you, Jane, a member of Unboring Wedding Pro. Martin is here. Martin, thanks for saying hi. You did your first wedding in Chattanooga for your cousin's daughter. Killed it. That is so good to hear. I love it. Man, I know it's not. We don't want to get too bogged down in conversation. I'd love for you to just give a little. How did you kill it? Did you tell the story? Was it the reaction? I'm a sucker for. That's why Monday morning I always follow up with my clients. Tell me how it went when I know they had a wedding, because I just love hearing the stories and the he's a jolly good fellow at the reception. Did they hoist you on their shoulders and that kind of thing? Tanya's here from Florida. John, as promised, you sent me an email saying you'd try to make it. Here you are in Rome, Georgia. Cool. Yeah, Jane, you do wedding shows. Of course you do. Crystal's here from Central Florida. Charlie is here from New Jersey. Tanya, what is a wedding show? Well, you're in the right place. If you didn't know they existed, you should know. And if you are trying to get your business started, this is definitely a way to do it. And so I'd love to use Tanya's as a segue, but I always get carried away in the chat. I love seeing people here. Joy's here from Miami. Timing was on point. That's great, Martin. Yeah, you want to engage the guests. You want to tell the story. That's more my Unboring Wedding Academy side, all about the ceremony. Today, I want to talk to pros who know how to officiate a wedding. Clearly, somebody like Martin who killed it, crushed it, and now maybe he's thinking, could I do this as a side hustle? Have people asked you to do it again? If they haven't yet, Martin, they will. Hey, Darren from Orlando. So in places, I get asked this a lot. Mark, I want to join a wedding show. Tanya, what is a wedding show? Let's answer that. A wedding show, and I'm sure there's wedding shows local to you. I mean, I live in small town, rural, by the sea, New Brunswick. Moved here from Toronto a few years ago. But even in New Brunswick, there is a vibrant wedding industry. That's why I moved here, because it's kind of destination-y. People love having their weddings in St. Andrews by the sea, and barn weddings, or the huge resort there, or by the ocean, gardens, all that kind of stuff. And so the big cities nearby, small cities nearby in New Brunswick, have wedding shows. A wedding show is where all the vendors will come together in one place. It might be a church in St. John. The big one was at a huge church in Fredericton. It is at the Delta Hotel and Convention Center. You fill the ballroom. Every vendor gets a booth or a table, and you showcase your services. And the wedding show typically markets to couples getting married, okay? And let's be honest, 90% brides, 10% grooms, at least as of right now and in my area, coming through there. Sometimes it's brides with their entire wedding party. A lot of time there's parents of the bride and groom coming through, in-laws and outlaws and that kind of thing. And they kind of go table to table, seeing what is on offer. What are the vendors doing? Who are the vendors that they should meet? So lots of planners, lots of decorators, lots of photographers. There's usually a few DJs. And in my experience, very few officiants. And I do see this debated in Facebook groups for officiants, things like that. Maybe you've seen this. Is it worth it? Should I go? What's the point? Especially when it costs $300 or $400 or $500 to get a table. Ouch, that's pretty steep. Why should I do it? Am I going to get a good ROI? Am I going to get bookings out of it to recoup that kind of thing? So this is what I want to spend the next 15-ish minutes or so. Those of you who know me are like, yeah, right, Mark, good luck with that. Uh, I don't want Friday lives to be too long. I don't have any slides or anything like that. I really like to be polished a lot of the time when I do webinars, or of course my courses, or on stage presentations. Live, I just want to come up here and say, here's my experience with this question that everybody's asking. I want to dump back into the chat here and see. Yeah, Martin, nobody can believe it was your first time. David's here. David is a longtime member of the Unboring wedding community. Good to see you. So Tanya, you're in South Florida. I would bet that the wedding industry is bumping there, and there's probably multiple wedding shows per year. Now that you know to look out for them, you will see them. And you just have to go to bridal shops or get bridal publications or poke around in local groups. You will definitely find out wedding shows, because these wedding shows are really trying to get the message out to anybody getting married next year or the year after. Couples who are trying to book their vendors. This is a time to showcase what you do. So I want to talk about what you need, because when I started doing wedding shows, I had no idea what I needed, and it scared me. The thought of a booth, when you think of doing an expo, you need something, a table and a bunch of stuff, don't you? Don't you need all kinds of promotional materials and all that kind of thing? Yes, but don't get overwhelmed, okay? This is one thing that I think, like, too much is bad. It's the old, a little bit less is more. And so I want to kind of break up this quick little answer to the question, what do I need for a wedding show? And then I want to talk about what do you need to do for a wedding show, into those two parts. What do you need and what do you need to do? So first of all, there's the compiling of all the stuff you need. And sorry, I'm looking at the comments here. James has asked for a break in fees. We don't make as much photographers venues. Oh, yeah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, feel free to use the chat. Hit me up with questions, but I don't want to, like a squirrel, get too distracted. I want to answer the question. What do you need? So first of all, why would you join a wedding show? Now that you know what it is, Tanya and anyone else on here, why you would want to join is, of course, to meet those couples getting married who are walking by. It's literally a stream of people who are potentially looking for your services. Where else do you get a stream of people in person who need what you provide? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is where you cannot put a price on ROI. This is why, I'm usually the first to jump in. And I say from experience, when I started going to wedding shows, the reason why my business started doing so well locally is not necessarily because of how many couples I booked at the show. It's how many fellow vendors I met, how many planners I said hello to, put my card in their hand, got their card, struck up a conversation, said, I can't wait to work with you. Maybe I can recommend, etc., etc. So we'll talk a bit more about that. But meeting vendors, all your fellow wedding industry vendors in one room, that is absolutely incredible. So you get to meet couples, and you're like, well, maybe I'll book some, maybe I won't. And I think you should consider booking couples to be like icing on the cake. The real benefit is going to be meeting vendors, photographers, planners face to face, introducing yourself and talking to them about what they do. Okay, so the barrier to entry, obviously, in a wedding show, what prevented me from doing it and what scared me at first was the table thing. All the paraphernalia I need on a table. So you're like, okay, photographers, they obviously can showcase their photography, and decorators. Oh my gosh, they show up with like a U-Haul full of flower arrangements, candle planters, all that stuff. Planners, they a lot of time have that stuff. They can show what they do, how they plan. What does an officiant have to offer? This is why I'm going to say, what do you need for a wedding show? Here's the short answer. I would say 5 things. Now, you're going to see officiants, and officiants might advise you have a big table with lots of things. You can do that. But my philosophy always, especially with pro, is just what is the minimum viable decent. You don't want like, duct tape and 2x4s. You want something that is professional and polished, but what is the minimum that you actually need? And that's, I want you to get you in the door, and I want you to go to these wedding shows. So if you're super shy and scared, just attend a wedding show first. Okay. This is kind of me like undercutting the whole answer to this question. But if it's totally new to you, like Tanya, if you're like, what is a wedding show? Tanya's going to regret asking this question now because I keep mentioning your name. But somebody who doesn't know what one is or has never been to one, just attend one, buy a ticket and lurk. And I have been an officiant at a wedding show many times, and another like officiant or planner will come by, and of course we'll talk about kind of how you break the ice with people walking by. Hey there, and they confess to me, I'm actually not getting married. I'm a planner, or I'm, somebody, and I just wanted to see what's out there today. That's an awesome strategy. So even if you don't want to jump in with a table and spend the $300 to $500 on a booth, just attend one to whet your appetite, see what you could do, get some ideas. Okay. Now let's assume you're taking that bold step and you're getting a table. Usually you have options for a table at any expo. I go to Wedding MBA in Vegas for wedding vendors in November. Hope to see you there. If you're on this call, I'm speaking. I love it. Can't say enough good things about it. And I follow this strategy whether I'm at a place like Wedding MBA, talking to and promoting my brand to vendors, or I'm at a wedding show talking to very local couples. I get the smallest possible table. Okay. There's a reason for that. Not just because I'm a cheapskate, I might be, but when you get the smallest possible table, it's going to force you to behave in a certain way, a proactive way at the show. Okay. So that's my tip to you. Get the smallest possible table. Now, that does 2 things. Like I say, it prompts you to behave a certain way at the show, i.e., not hiding behind your giant table and all the stuff you're going to pile on top of it, but also it will make sure that you don't need a ton of stuff to put on the table. Because I think that's the overwhelming part is, oh my gosh, I've got this 12-foot table. It's going to look really weird if I only have 2 things on it. So I try to get just a round cocktail table at all the wedding shows I do. And here are the 5 things I'm going to say you need to bring. Okay. Keep you in suspense because I want to take a look here at the chat. Hey, Diana's here in Vegas. Diana, you're right there at the convention center in November. Biggest wedding show in the world happens, Wedding MBA. So fun. There's a room. Every industry has their own breakouts and keynotes. Hope to see you there. It's amazing. So, okay, Jane's, I knew it, Jane. You're leading this group. You're talking about QR codes and all that. So, if you want Jane's advice, she's killing it. you're saying a lot of stuff that I would say, Jane. I'm going to get there. How do you find a wedding show? Google. Yes, any decent wedding show, I believe, would be on Google. So be very specific. Blah blah. Wedding showcase. Wedding show. I also think that you should be networking with fellow vendors. Planners will know every show. Okay, so I do talk about that a lot with my pro community. You should be calling up wedding planners and just chatting and asking them. Okay, so they charge $1,200 to $1,500 for a table in NC, North Carolina. That is a lot of money. Again, so I can see why people are like, I'm trepidatious. I want to recoup that cost. But again, I would argue there is no better one-day place to see all your vendors, get your vendors to see your brand, meet potential customers, and network. I mean, if you just say, like, think about what a $1,200 Facebook blast or any kind of cold advertising, a one page in a local wedding magazine versus putting yourself in a wedding show. Like the returns in terms of marketing budget to me, there's no comparison. So if you want to just think, man, this year I'm going to join one great show, $1,200, I'm going to consider that marketing budget, I would say it is going to be well worth it. Getting questions about the difference between Academy and Pro. Academy is for somebody like Martin who just said, I just want to learn how to officiate the best wedding ceremony anyone's ever seen. The Academy makes you the best because it just talks about my flow for the ceremony, the process of putting it together, and how to write the love story and how to be ready. You get all the tools, and it's ceremony specific. Pro came out of my own community. Jane was one of them who got Academy and then said, now how do I get clients? And they got mad at me because I didn't have a course teaching about that. So a couple of years ago, I put together Pro, and now I've helped hundreds of people launch their own businesses. So the Pro is all about the business of officiating. The Academy is all about ceremony stuff. Some people purchase Pro and then they take Academy. Most do Academy and then say, oh my gosh, I crushed it, I want to go Pro. Okay. Oh, so this is Diana with the website. Awesome. Yes, I kind of figured out. Yeah. Okay. So I know you're in Vegas, and I'll see you there. Nuptial blessings. Hey, good to see you. You did both. Been with Unboring for years. Best ever. Oh, it is so good to see you. I'm glad you are here. So here we go. Here's what you need. The 5 things. Let's get back to it. Love the chat. Love that you're here. Love that you're engaging. It's what gets me up in the morning. First thing you need is a banner. Okay. And this is maybe the most intimidating part. But jump on Vistaprint. I've been looking for something easier because I do everything on Canva. But man, Vistaprint has made my banners really well. Maybe there's something different local for you. But what I loved about Vistaprint is you can build your content right there through the website. A lot of other banner makers or marketing material companies, you have to get a designer, design it in Vector, email them. Is it okay? Blah, blah, blah. Vistaprint was so easy. I wish I had like a, affiliate link I could give you now. This is just free press for them. But I created a banner, and I'm going to, put a more formal YouTube video together on this in a few weeks, and probably provide a photo of my booth. And it's very simple. Like I say, I get a round cocktail table. That's the smallest thing. I don't want a big rectangular beast. Just want a surface to have a couple things on. And I get a banner. And I've watched people as they approach my little cocktail table and me standing there. It's intimidating for them to look at you. Like wedding couples are not, they're scanning the stuff, and they go up and down the aisles and they're looking at the stuff. So of course, when they approach me, and even though I'm standing right there, they look at the banner. And so it's just one kind of regular strip banner, tall, taller than me, like 7 feet tall. And it's a floor banner that just rolls up, and it has my logo and a picture of me officiating, like the ones behind me, right on the banner. And it has that hook question. So I'm going to talk to you about, you need to know your value proposition. That you need to know what it is you do, and ask like a provocative question, or like hit them where they live. This is copywriting stuff. Again, this is in my Pro course. But in order for you to be an entrepreneur trying to sell yourself as an officiant, you do need to know the psychology of how to write like a marketer. And I watch that happen. Brides look at my banner, they see the photo, and then they see that question. Do you want your wedding ceremony to be fun and exciting? Do you think it should be about you? You can see this on my website. It's the same question on unboringwedding.com in the section for my officiating services. I see them read that and kind of smile. So in a way, my banner is the lead in to talking to them. They see the picture. Then I say just my name and where I serve. Mark Allen Grollo, New Brunswick wedding officiant, and the website. And then another big picture. Very few words, because I'm standing right there and I want to talk to them. They see the banner. So get a banner. I'd say design it on Vistaprint. Think photos, think logo. It doesn't need to be very busy. And as Jane said, because in Wedding MBA, I added the QR code right there on the banner. And a lot of people pull out their phone and scan the banner right there. And then, your website is right on their phone. So that's huge. So get a banner. The second thing you need to do is take the time to go on Canva. Again, I just recommend Canva for all your designing, and create a rack card or a postcard. I have right here, I have some postcards left over from something. So you can see here, uh, this is very photo heavy. Again, just a big picture with my brand on it. Consistent branding everywhere. Look at that. It's the same as what's on the wall. And I'm not reinventing the wheel every time. And just some pretty simple wording on the back of the services I provide. Everything is included because I want them to be able to scan this. Does it pass the scan test? So I teach how to create a rack card. I have some of those too. And I think a rack card is more like when you go on vacation in a hotel. What should I do this weekend? And you go down to the hotel, the concierge, and there's rack cards for ATV tours and zip lines and all that. You don't want to just bring a business card, but you do, that's the third thing, want to bring business cards because you'll kind of read the context of somebody. If they just say, oh, can I just get your business card? You want to have those. So again, design those on Canva. There's templates, super simple. It'll help you with your branding, all that good stuff. But a rack card has more information about what you do. Okay. So this is where I just say custom, personal, guaranteed. I try to think of the value propositions. What makes me me? I guarantee that they'll love their ceremony. They get all their money back. That's pretty unique. It's customized. I tell their love story. I literally insist on it. That's just me. Maybe that's not you. And I'm certified, of course. I'm legal. I try to think of the things that they would want to know right away, and what are their pain points, and how do I answer them, and what do I do to stand out. So you go with your banner, again, simple, with like a tagline that'll grab them, and then you're right there. Then you have that rack card, which is more detail about your services. And as Jane said, see that QR code? Boom, they can scan that and get right to your website, your inquire page, even ideally. And then you bring a business card because you will be bumping into vendors or that kind of thing. You don't want to seem like you're trying to shill yourself. Like, please refer me. So sometimes you'll just say, here's my business. Let's get in touch. Always asking fellow vendors for theirs as well. And following up after a wedding show is the other half of the work and the benefit. That's the legwork you do afterwards. Because again, we are here to meet fellow vendors. Okay, the fourth thing you need on the table. So again, I have a stack of rack cards, a stack of business cards. I kind of hide the business cards. I want people to take the rack cards, a lot of them. Then just some photos of officiating in a frame. So I'm sure you get the impression from somewhere, wherever could it be, that photos of me officiating are pure gold. I asked photographers for permission to use these photos. I credit them wherever I can if I use them digitally, and I bring photos and I put them in a frame and I put them on the table. How many? 3. Literally 3 is all that will fit on the cocktail table that I get for the wedding show. And of course, it's some of the ones that you see behind me, just in a frame on the table. So again, 3 photos of me officiating with couples laughing and having a great time, a stack of rack cards, some business cards, and my banner. Okay. And the 5th thing that I learned after doing this the hard way is bring your calendar. If you are booked or busy, or this is just a side hustle, when you get in a conversation with somebody, it's a great icebreaker right away to say, when's your wedding? We'll talk more about what to say. See, I'm way beyond 15 minutes, trying to keep Friday Lives short for your benefit, and we'll get off here soon. But one of the things is you want to be able to look at your calendar, and you want to have, if you're booked, for example, if I'm booked up in 2024, but I go to a wedding show because of the branding stuff and just want to meet my vendors and be a part of the scene, a couple will say, or a bride or a groom will say, oh, we're getting married on June 23rd. So I'll have a look, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I'm booked, and we'll have a laugh about it. So, I hope you don't like me too much because I'm already booked. But, then you might say, I'm happy to refer you to somebody else or something like that. But I wouldn't spend too much time on that. But it's a quick way to find out if you're booked. Have a calendar right there that's clear, that has your next year clearly marked. I just found that so useful so that you don't have a big, long conversation with a bride or a groom kind of selling them on what you do. And then at the end, they say, we're getting married on June 23rd. And you go, oh, okay. And I wasted a lot of time with couples and getting their hopes up and telling them how great I'm going to do and then finding out I'm booked. So it's one of the first few questions you're going to ask. Okay. So let's get to the what you need to do now. So that's what you needed. Did you get the 5 things? A banner, a rack card, a business card, photos of you officiating, and your calendar, because you're going to need that for that icebreaker question. Now, the work you need to do before you go to a wedding when you're creating your materials is that value proposition. You want to be super clear about what you do. For me, it's a fun, exciting, unboring wedding that focuses on telling the couple's love story and thrilling all their guests and just giving them the best ceremony anyone's ever seen. That's what I teach in Academy. That's what I do. So I can confidently say that. And I say, if you don't love your ceremony, you're getting all your money back. What is it for you? Maybe it's literally you specialize in like quick military signing weddings. That's it. Maybe you love elopements. There's colleagues of mine there that just do elopements. They love doing like a blanket under a tree with a few friends. And I love referring to them for that kind of thing because I don't really like doing that kind of thing. They love referring to me for the big weddings that, the big shows kind of thing. And there's a symbiosis there. So figure out what it is that you do. What do you do? So that's your value proposition. What do you do? Who do you serve? What kind of couple is your favorite? And what do you love to do uniquely? Once you figure that out, you can create your kind of splashy materials like on the banner, but you're also ready to talk to couples really quick because it is like an elevator pitch when you go to a wedding show. It's just an exercise in knowing what you do and being clear on who you serve and what you love. So I'll give you an example now of what you need to do, and we'll wrap up with this. That's what you need. Now you're at the wedding show. You've set up your little table, the smallest one that you need, remember, so that you're not hiding behind it. I was at Wedding MBA, and a lot of people were surprised that, like me and my wife, who was there talking about Wedding Academy, we just had a small table with a banner on it, and we were in front of the table engaging with people as they walk by. That was like, wow. People were like, wow, this is really, you look at you're right out front. A lot of people hide behind their table, say nothing. You'll see this at a lot of, again, if you go to a wedding show as a scout, and it just blows my mind that they've paid $1,200 to be there and they just put stuff on a table and then sit there on their phone. You are going to make a huge impression when you are in front of your table. And when that couple comes up, or a bride and her entire party, it's so fun to talk to these people. Even if you're not outgoing, you go ready with the following script, okay? So you'll see them look at your banner. Have a question ready. And this is where you're just going to want this to be the thing you remember when you go to a wedding show. You are there to ask questions. Questions are kind of the way in to, ironically, for people to find out who you are. But you just want to ask questions. People remember you more when you're more interested in them. So I always say, okay, this is what, and I learned this, it took me a few wedding shows because I was like, what do I say? I didn't even give it a thought before I jumped in. I said that I'd see them and I'd say, who's getting married? That's the first, who's getting married? And of course, the bride will either identify herself, the groom, oh, the two of us, oh, my fiance's here somewhere. Sometimes it's like two older women. Oh, not us, my daughter. She's here. She's just down there. So right away, that who's getting married question breaks the ice and you're good to go. If you're talking to a bride or a groom or a wedding party person or a parent, that is kind of the first thing you do. Who's getting married? And then you ask, of course, do you have an officiant or do you know if they have their officiant? Sometimes they'll say, yes, it's a minister. Sometimes they'll say, yes, it's a friend. And then you can even say, are you sure about that? Are you sure you don't want a professional? And you'll be kind of laughing about it. They might say, well, we're not sure, actually. Or, of course, some of them say, no, we don't have an officiant. We are looking for an officiant. Now you ask them what kind of wedding they want. First of all, I would just briefly introduce, no, we don't have an officiant. That's where I would say, well, my name is Mark. I am the founder of Unboring Wedding. I love, and remember that thing where I said, be clear on what you do? I love officiating fun ceremonies that are centered on the love story. What kind of wedding, but very quickly, what kind of wedding are you hoping to have? How's the planning coming? What are you thinking for your day? What kind of ceremony? And again, it might be really quick under a tree. And I've had them say that, oh no, just really small, just like 5-10 people. And I'm like, oh, okay, I do those. Those are fun if you want your love story. But sometimes they're just like clearly like, no, this is not going to be what I'm thinking. And that way, again, you're going to lose your voice at a wedding show because you talk to people for 2 or 3 hours. It's so fun. It just goes by in a flash. But you don't want to be talking to people who really aren't interested in again, what you serve, who you serve, and what you love to do. So I find those to be incredible clarifying questions for everybody that's walking by. Who's getting married? And again, if you'll watch at a wedding show, a lot of vendors aren't even talking. They put their flower displays up or a rack of bridal dresses, and then they'll just kind of sit there. You don't want to do that, especially if you spend a lot of money. You are there to network, not necessarily book couples, but meet couples, meet vendors, and put a good impression of you out there that you can talk to people. So, who's getting married? Do you have your officiant? And then, like I say, tell me about your day. Have you picked a date yet? Again, see all these questions. And that's where sometimes I'll just check and say, oh, well, I'm available. And so if you're interested and you do the call to action, you take your rack card and you hand it to them. Okay. Call to action is huge in marketing, in sales, in any capacity. Don't just shrug your shoulders and say, hope to, like, tell them, here's my QR code. Scan that on your phone. You'll see everything I provide, more details on there, and send me an inquiry right through that website. They might say, "Well, can I do now?" But even when I even when they say, "We've heard about you, we want to book you," I'm saying, "Okay, do that today." I send them off to do this because that's how I kind of keep booking straight in my own flow. Is I need those inquiries coming through the website. And this is great because if you've met the couple, I like to do a chemistry check. Everybody I book, I get on the phone with them on a video call or meet in person before I agree to take their money and officiate. But when you meet couples at a wedding, I always say, okay, we can bypass that. And I tell them that. Typically, I would say, I want to meet you first. We just met. So you can scan this, put your inquiry in with your wedding details so I can keep it straight, the when, the where, and just say in the comments that you met me at the wedding show. I'll remember, and that way we can just lock you in. Okay, so again, you're saving yourself a lot of time. That's another way a wedding show is hugely worth it. So that's the questions you're going to ask couples. Then you're going to wander around the room talking to vendors. There are some downtimes, and like I say, sometimes there's flows to a wedding show a lot of the time. And whether it's set up and tear down, if it's super crazy and that's the only time you have, you want to walk around and ask other vendors what you do. Or just say, to the DJ, oh my gosh, I've heard so many good things about you. We've never worked together. And you're asking questions. Tell me what you do. What kind of weddings do you work at? I mean, just be a sponge when you go to these wedding shows because these vendors are incredible. They work weddings, they know their wedding stuff, and it's the best place and the best way to learn from your vendors because they are all there and they're happy to talk about their work and what they do and the kind of couples they serve. Tell me about how is business in the area for you or that kind of thing. Always asking questions to them about what they do. Okay, so that's it in general. Any questions at all before I sign off here? I do have to jump on the phone with a client, a coaching client who's got a wedding tomorrow. This is the other part of what I do, but I do want to make time on Friday to jump on here and answer questions. I hope you see the value of jumping into a wedding show, either as like a scout, just buy a ticket and lurk for the first time, but then ultimately get the smallest table, get those things together, get really clear on your message, and just show up and ask a lot of questions to everybody you meet and call them to action with your rack card and say, hit my website, inquire right there. And that's where for wedding vendors, you might not be handing them your rack card. You'll be handing them the business card. Because another thing I talk about in Pro is how to have coffees with your fellow vendors. So you want their card, you want to follow up with them when it's over and say, hey, I loved meeting you. Can I buy you a quick coffee at your nearest Starbucks, or can I come see your venue? I've heard such great things about it. The barn is beautiful, the garden's amazing. I'd love to come have a quick look and then maybe get some business cards because I want to refer you. Okay, so that is how you are going to grow your wedding business really fast, much faster than the whole if you build it, they will come, you sit back and wait. You got to be proactive, and wedding shows are the best place to do that, I would argue. Okay, just dipping into the chat here. Let's see. Don is here again. Good to see you. Martin says, how do you determine your fee? Is there a niche for being a backup officiant? I don't know if there's a niche for being a backup because people want their backups to be. I think of photographers who use second shooters. Their second shooters are always still like all-star officiants with their own business typically. So you want to yeah, Jane says, I wouldn't put my stock in being a backup. I've never been called as a backup. I've never needed to call anyone. Thank you. Thank goodness. Touch wood, all that stuff. Have your own really solid brand out there. And when you network with officiants, for sure, you'll say, my business, blah, blah, blah. That's a great way to say, can I call you if I need a backup? But again, whatever you, here's a little hack, whatever you want. For example, if you're like, I wish somebody would refer me, then chances are somebody else is thinking that. So when you meet a vendor, you say, I want to refer you. So anytime that thought enters your head, can I just be a backup for somebody? Well, why don't you ask somebody to be your backup? And then it'll probably be reciprocal. Okay. So always enter the industry and with these incredible ninja wedding colleagues with the posture of asking questions and supporting them. And then it just comes back around. That's how you're in this for the long game. Think long game. Don't burn bridges and try to, be super cheap and undercut people. And when you're thinking about building an officiating brand, a wedding brand, think about all the seeds you're planting along the way, and it will take it a while to grow. Okay. Jane says you created a brochure on why use a professional officiant. That's awesome. Good. Does your officiant know? Crystal says that's awesome. Good. Yeah, hit those things, those aspirations, those pain points, those fears. You're thinking like a marketer, like a copywriter when you do that. Tanya says you're trying to make being a wedding officiant not just a side hustle, but a business. Good. You've done mostly elopements, so you need to get both your courses. So, well, I'll let other people answer that. But if you want to just learn how to crush the big ceremony and tell a guaranteed amazing love story, there are people in this chat who have done that, then get the academy. It will make you the best. I do argue that when you do a big wedding and there's 100 people there and you're the best officiant anyone's ever seen, that is the other best way, in aside to a wedding show, to getting bookings, is the vendors who are there are going to be like, holy cow, we've never seen anything like that. We want to refer this officiant to all our clients. So that's the first thing. There's always vendors in the room who hear the buzz after. And then you, of course, have all those people in the seats, the guests, who have weddings coming up in one way or another, a friend, a daughter, somebody they know, and they're going to ask for your card and you will refer that way. Again, long game, long tail, might take a year or two for those things to build, but that is how you do it. So, yes, I argue that Academy makes you the best ever with all, it's just a roadmap you follow. And then Pro is full of tips like this. This was what? I mean, I'm engaging in the chat, but this is actually stage 6 of my 6th stage. It's one of the parts of stage 6 of listing and networking in the Pro course. So I've made a life of just helping people trying to get their thing going and be the best with the minimal pain. Like I say, get it out the door. What's the best thing you can get out the door to kickstart what you do and be the best? So that's what I'm all about. Diana, awesome to see you. Thanks a lot, John. I loved that you were here. You have big issues doing bigger ceremonies. So that is a question of marketing, but also just locking down. I think saying, I'm trained to X or Y. I'm trained to write love stories. I'm trained to do big ceremonies. That is really important, especially if, I have people who buy the course who've never done one before. You want to say, I'm trained to, and you need to get those reviews and those photos. So it's about getting your foot in the door. In Pro, I talk about unabashedly contacting vendors and saying, I'm new. Can I refer you? Again, you don't want to have cap in hand and say, please refer me. You want to come in and say, I'm trained, I'm building my business, I'd like to refer you. And that is how you start building that regard. Wedding vendors are your best friend. They're absolutely amazing. Hopefully that helped with the question of, what does a wedding officiant need to do for a wedding show? Don't be scared of them. That is all you need to do. You just need to get those 5 things ready and go out and ask questions. This week, I am having this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Pro is available for like a Black Friday spring discount rate. So if you go to the link that I am putting here in the chat, unboringwedding.com, Unboring Wedding Academy, that was wrong, unboringweddingacademy.com, wedding, unboringweddingacademy.com/pro. There we go. Not unboringwedding.com/pro. That'll get you to a 404 on my Unboring Wedding website. Unboringweddingacademy.com/pro. You can head there. It's regular $397. Type in Pro Spring 2023 and you'll get $150 off today, tomorrow, and Sunday. This is my spring sale. I do it once a year, Black Friday and spring, for people who are thinking, okay, summer's coming. I'd love to start building. I'd love to start knowing what I'm doing. So some people start that in November and do it over the winter. Of course, it might be winter for you now. Summer so if you're on the other side of the world, I just talked with somebody in Australia this morning, South Africa, and of course it is winter there. So there you go. Hit that link, but do not pay the full price today. This weekend only until Sunday. Use the code PROSPRING2023, all one word. That is the little thank you for visiting this live Friday question of the week. I'm so thrilled to have been on here with you. And I don't see any more questions here in the chat. Again, I got to be on a coaching call in 15 minutes, but I do have a bit of time. In Vegas, I learned 78% of wedding licenses are given to tourists. Wow, how's the best way to reach tourists that are coming from all over? What's the best way to reach tourists is to have a website and then hire somebody. So Diane, I know you have your website with us. Hire an SEO expert to start ranking you on those keywords. If anybody is searching for that, getting married in Las Vegas, you might want to start a blog. You just add one page on your website and start writing little blogs that are full of the word, like for tourists in Vegas, wedding tourists. If you wanted to go after that segment of the market, you start being strategic with keywords and getting found. But as with anything, you need to verify how people are finding their officiants first. So you heard that stat, and I would want to drill in a little bit deeper before I started spinning my wheels and saying, what are those people getting those wedding licenses? How are they finding an officiant? Because if you're competing with these, like, if they're all Elvis wedding chapels, which I heard the Elvis impersonators are getting shut down anyway, then again, you don't want to be struggling in a market that's not looking for you anyway. So however, I always say, and this is in pro, put a Google My Business profile up there. If you have not done that yet, that is like, do that today. Google My Business, and then there's best practices around that. Because even when your website's not ranking, it might take months for your website to rank on keywords when people search. Google My Business is geo based, right? It's about geography and what's nearby, and you will rank with a Google My Business. So that's my quick advice on that. I'm never capable of giving quick advice. I love giving thorough answers, which is why I'm still here 45 minutes later. I'm going to sign off now. Loved this. I will see you at the next Friday Live where I answer the question of the week. Who knows what it'll be? But again, hit that link, unboringweddingacademy.com/pro. Do not pay the full price. Pro Spring 2023 for a huge Black Friday discount today, first week of June, as wedding season approaches. I love serving you. Thanks a lot. I had a blast. I wish you all the best on your first or next wedding.